Hello and welcome to the Not My Job Pod. We are joined today by the wonderful Erica Switzer, who is a stand-up comedian. So we have known each other for a number of years, but it's been a while since we've had a little catch-up. So I'm excited to see what you're up to since you've been on a number of famous stages, I think, since the last time that we saw each other.
It's been crazy. It's been very crazy. The last time you saw me with somebody I don't even know anymore. So that's how long it's been. But yeah, life has taken me to some really killer stages and venues that I haven't only dreamed to be on, and things keep unfolding more and more. And just here for the ride and loving it.
I mean, I think because when we both kind of got into comedy together, I was managing a comedy club, and then you were like really getting into like doing shows and everything, and like honing the craft. And then you took it back to Chicago, where I got to see you do stand up one time. But yeah, I've watched the ride happen. Like I've been watching like the Laugh Factory, Zanies, like all these stages in New York. Like yeah, it's growing.
It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, I just, starting stand up in Shanghai of all places, I just never imagined being able to go everywhere and anywhere. And it's just been, like I said, quite a journey. Excited to see where the roads keep twisting and turning me.
Definitely. So, what was it in Shanghai that made you say, "Okay, I wanna try this"?
I knew before I got there that I had to do it. A former colleague of ours used to say how black folks needed to darn near have a PhD to get over there, and kind of, sorta. But when I was going over there, I knew I was going to teach. I knew I was going to do public speaking, and I knew I was going to do stand up. I just had that inkling in me. I don't know if it was watching too much Chappelle or what, but it's just like a little voice inside saying, "Go be that griot." Like, go lean into that storytelling bloodline. And here we are now, 8 years later, getting ready for a pretty big show with somebody who's prepping material for Chappelle's Comedy Club opening. So I'm over the
Ooh.
moon.
Can you disclose who that is?
I'll disclose because by the time this airs, it'll probably have already happened, but I'm featuring for Marina Franklin in a couple of weeks. So
Wow.
I had gone from seriously having imposter syndrome, beating me down and saying, "Are you sure you want to do this? Is this for you? Aren't you too old to be doing this? Does anybody really care? Who's your audience?" To all of a sudden, Marina wants me to feature for her. And it's like, wait a second. I got to get out of this snake pit. Like this is really about to happen. Let me go step boldly forward into this thing that she's called me to do. So I'm excited, very excited.
That is amazing. But also it's kind of like you always hear comedians, like, they say it's like an overnight success, but it's always like a 15-year overnight success. So, in your case, I feel like 8 years is a good place to, be opening for big names.
Absolutely. And I'm still, like, as a fan first, as it was about a year and a half ago, I had seen Email Joaquin open for Neil Brennan. And I was just like, wow, it's just the two of them up there just slanging these jokes and just keeping us in stitches for an hour and a half, just going crazy. And so to go from that to now all of a sudden, hey, you're about to do this. It's like, wait, hold on, what? You mean to tell me I gotta go give the best 30 minutes of my life in a couple of weeks? Okay, I think I can.
I believe in you. I think you can. So,
It'll be
I'm curious though, how has the act or how have you changed as a comedian? Because, I watched your set a number of times in Shanghai when you were just starting out, but that was in like 2018, 2019, even 2017. Then saw you once in Chicago like 2020, maybe right before the pandemic. And then it's been 5 years since then, obviously, I assume you're not telling, as many China jokes to non-international audiences. So what's been the pivot?
It's the fact that a lot of those China jokes are real reality for people now. It's the fact that I've grown as a person. The world's grown and changed rapidly. But when I'm up there telling my yucks, I'm not trying to like go big, let's attack politics or let's attack the state of the world. It's, hey, look, this is me in this little microcosm. This is weird from here. This is kind of funny. How does this look? Pick this up, observe it, and be like, hey, y'all look at this too. There's a lot more of that. There's something about being here, home in Chicago, thicken my skin. I think if I would have started here, I would have been a totally different comedian. I think it was necessary to start in Shanghai because, here we are pitching to the common denominator of what's funny. And then you bring it home and then you say, hey, this. And then they're like, no, here's what we like. And it's like, okay, so where's this balance? I have had not only my funniness called into question being at home, I've had my blackness called into question being at home. And it's like, well, shit, I've been a black woman all around the effing world. What are you talking about? I've earned the right to tell you what's going on. So it's been a challenge, but it's made me. It's at this age, I'm like, oh, my character's good and it's fixed. No, it's not fixed. Mold me and craft me and shape me into the different comedian that I am now.
I wanna dig into a couple things there, cause like, I do think Shanghai was a cool place to start out in comedy, cause you actually get a lot more stage time than, like, literally anywhere else in the world, and now that I live in Berlin, and honestly, because I worked in comedy for just that short time, and that whole world, like, was about to send me into a mental breakdown, now, even when I go to, like, comedy shows in Berlin, I'm like, "Man, y'all have it easy, like, you're getting so much stage time because there's just not that many of you, you're telling, like, crappy expat jokes over and over again, like, the same version, the same copycat version of you exists in Shanghai, exists in probably whatever other comedy big city expat areas." But I do think, like, there were some benefits to having that much stage time and having that opportunity to, like, get comfortable in front of a crowd. So I guess before we dive into all the other stuff, what do you, like, miss the most about doing comedy in Shanghai?
Just that atmosphere was so much different to have colleagues and peers from all over the world that could give you different perspectives, different insights that you could just that's the thing I don't have here. There's a different community here, a little one that I've kind of built of closer buddies that I've performed with a lot and produced with and still recommend each other for shows and all that kind of stuff. It's different to be there in Shanghai. That was such a different, unique community. I hated the fact that when I left, all the guys got married. All of what? But no, just like I was the fertility blocker or something. No, I was no. And how many of them like matched with me on Bumble or some crap while I was there? It's like, hey, you see me twice a week. Say hi. Never anyway, it was fun. It was such a cool community. I'm grateful that a few of our buddies are still there, even though stand up there has evolved. English stand up there has evolved. It's awesome to still see Ian and Jorge
Mhm.
on these stages. Nora is still huge and but now they get to pull up alongside her.
Actually, when I was in San Francisco recently, I, was talking to a colleague who's from China. And I was telling her like, "Oh, yeah, I used to run a comedy club in used to manage a comedy club in Shanghai." And she was like, "Have you heard of spicy comedy?" And I was like, "That's not my thing at all, like, I'm not affiliated with them at all, but, like, hell yeah, like, they're still doing it." Like, Nora and Jorge and Ian, like, they're all yeah, they're going for it, and yeah, it was cool to hear, like, that connection, and, like, she knew all those people from going to those shows, so it was really surprising.
Awesome. Yeah, Spicy's still going. I think Ian just said he's able to move away from Spicy and do stuff away from Spicy now. It was one of those things where it's like either he had to sign up with them or not do stand up. It was that kind of stuff now that we're looking at. Before I left, I ran a couple of shows out of a live house. I was approaching Hattie and alongside me just to make sure, negotiations were looking good and stuff like that. But it was a pretty prominent guy in China who ran a couple of music live houses and had opened a brand new beautiful one in Shanghai. And they said, Erica, we want your comedy program. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. So, here's Hey Now Comedy and a flyer that they've done up. But one of the early promotional flyers they had was like a badger, because that was one of their mascots. What a Donald Trump wig. He had like a Hey Now Comedy armband on. And I was like, okay, China. I appreciate the sentiment, but I got the flyers, okay? Let me do that. But no, we ran a couple of good shows out of there. The first show was beautiful. It was amazing. It was great to see the logo behind their stage and packed out room and my good homie, the OG Simeon Goodson up there closing us out. And then it was more and more negotiations and more we need to see everybody's scripts.
That's what was really scary to me about China and one of the biggest reasons why I left, because my visa when I was in China was for that, like, company that basically got rich kids in China into US universities. I think I was called, like, an education consultant or something, which, that's always hilarious to think about, and, yeah, I had 2 guys show up at my door in China being like, "Do you work at" insert name of the comedy club that doesn't exist anymore at the time. And I was like, "No, I don't. I work for this other company." And that's when I knew I was like, "Oh, I'm in yeah, I need to back off." And then that was, I think, a week later I had left China. But, yeah, it was like a fun ride while it lasted. But yeah, it was giving me a mental breakdown. But then also, because I had like a list of keywords that I was using like to make ads for the comedy club, and no one knew about this either at the time, is I would run paid ads and like I had probability charts of like if, we said just for laughs, how likely was it that a government official was going to come and shut down the show? And because of that, like luckily somebody saw me doing that and was like, "Oh, so you work in like digital marketing and like search engine optimization." And I was like, "No, what's that?" And like ironically, that's what I do now. So that completely changed the trajectory of my life is that I went back to the US and actually learned how to do that for real. But at the time in China, it was just so stressful that yeah, if you didn't have the script, but like how do you have scripts for open mics? It's just not a great place with all the censorship.
That was stressful stuff. And, I could trust myself leaning to most of what I had written and given them and provided. I'm hosting. I want to provide a nice atmosphere. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. But at the same time, I was like, what that whole free speech thing? Thank you for reminding me that doesn't exist here. And then about these other guys, I don't want to have to go back and forth with them about the scripts that they're sending me and I got to provide to them. And it's just a whole bunch of uncomfortability that takes away from the true essence of what stand up is and what it means. And you can't go nearly as hard as you'd like to go in China, no matter what anybody tells you. You can't do it the same way. They're always going to have their whole Laurel and Hardy traditional view of stand up. You cannot be too mean, have their own views of how Western civilization's humor is so crass and nasty and vile, and culturally, it's something that should not work. But I'm grateful for my buddies and colleagues over there who still make it work, who do it for the good of people and aren't over there doing it for their egos and stuff. Jorge and Ian are brilliant comedians. They could be living here and making tons of money, but instead they're there applying the craft, doing other things. They got side jobs and whatever other gigs. But, my hat's off to them for keeping it going.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so different though. It's like they have like lives there, like they have other businesses that they own. They have, families, like wives, kids, like it's just different. They have an actual life. So yeah, no, I think it's awesome what they're doing, but yeah, from like a management perspective, like because I had government stuff being thrown at me, and then I had all the guys being like, "You don't know what's funny. You're not putting me on for the right amount of time." And then I'm like recording laughs per minute to like try to structure them in the right way, but like really, people are going to be mad at you no matter what. And then at the time, I didn't have a thick spine enough to just be like, screw you, because yeah, it was all new to me at the time too. But it's such a weird we all had opportunities there that I think we wouldn't have had outside of China. Like, I can only imagine, and I'm curious your perspective on this. When I moved to Chicago in 2019, I did try one time to go to an open mic and just get like a 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, like I have a type five, I'll just pop it up and it'll be fun. And, like there were, I think, like 70 people on the waiting list. And I was like, oh man. And then I was like, you know what? This is my sign. I'm done. How did you navigate that process when you got back to Chicago?
I lucked out in a weird way. My reputation preceded me. People had heard about me. When I came home for that first summer, saying, hey, I'm going to dip my toes into Chicago stand up to see what's going on. My mom was on the South Side, so I was pretty close to Riddles and Riddles Comedy Club and also just outside the city, and was able to start cutting my teeth there a little bit. Had my rough hell gig or hell sets at, some of the more notorious rooms, bartenders, of course. There's nothing like doing a joke about, a wig falling off in the wrong time and girls up front like, "It's a wig glue." And it's like, "Okay then. You wanna tell these? You want here, hand a mic. You go ahead. Take the rest of my time." They're like that. They're awful. They do not hesitate to let you know how they feel about you in Chicago. Even Mike Epps went on Breakfast Club a few months ago and said Chicago's notoriously hard, worse than New York now. And in New York, you'll still get on the stage and have somebody, "Hey, yo, where the jokes?
Yeah.
Hey, get them off the stage, B." It's hard, but I stayed the course. I tested my mettle. I got on these open mics and I did my thing. I won a few shows, a few contests that I was on, and just kept paving my way and just networking, shaking hands, doing the stuff that a lot of people don't like doing. I've wound up having to delete and block people as we go along, especially with producing shows here and going along more and more with that. But it is what it is. It's been an amazing experience, though. Chicago is so dope that you get people monthly from other big cities saying, "Hey, yo, I'm moving to Chicago. Hey, yo, I'm from Houston. I'm moving to Chicago for a little bit. I'm from New Orleans. I'm moving to Chicago for a little bit." Second city in a big way now again, comedically.
Yeah, I think that's what I can't even explain to people and I've never experienced it in Chicago. I can only imagine how awful it is. Like you get up on the stage and you're like, "All right, I'm gonna try to make this happen." And then someone's literally shouting at you like you're not funny. And it is brutal. Like I just it's hard to conceptualize to people like why would you even continue after that? Like what is the light at the end of the tunnel for you when someone's shouting like get wig glue. And you're like, no, I have a joke.
I had another hell gig last Christmas. I was doing it for charity. One of my besties volunteers at a nonprofit organization that helps kids literacy on the West Side, kids with getting care taken and literacy. So I'm doing my thing in not around, but I'm kind of surrounded by tables and chairs of these caretakers, and a lot of them are older. So the three sides, they're cracking up. They're loving it. They're loving it. This one side is not laughing. They're on their phones. I hear garbage in the middle of my set multiple times. And I look up, I said, who you texting? Like I had to, that kind of stuff. But still, I'm like, you should. This lady's just calling me garbage twice in the middle of my set where I'm thinking 90% of the people are enjoying what I'm saying. So the mental breakdown that could have gone down at that time was tremendous. And yet I'm staying in pocket. I'm like, I got about 3 more minutes of jokes and y'all gonna get these jokes. Regardless of what this big back heifer got to say, y'all gonna get these jokes. So it happens. It sucks. It is what it is. We live in a world where everybody's so glued to these things and thinks that they got comic chops. Anybody who's ever been told you're funny or you should do comedy or they're all getting told that. And they're getting the gumption to tell people that do it for real that they suck and they shouldn't do it. And it's like, all these books. Take all of these books and we'll see if you get a good 20-minute featuring set by the end of the year. Do
I
it.
mean, that is the thing though. Like I feel like everyone, because there's a big difference between like, oh yeah, you're really funny with your friends, and then like crafting something that makes people laugh reliably. It's just, yeah, what other profession is there where you get up and do your job and then people are yelling at you like garbage? You're like, okay, all right. Like, you don't
To
have to
those
find me
people,
funny,
get
but
your own podcast. Okay? If you
yeah,
don't want to go ahead and get up at Riddle's open mic, if you think you're going to be the next Just Niche, then damn it, get on the mic and prove it. Don't
yeah.
go messing up somebody who's professionally working in the middle of their work. Do people do that? That's the thing that I hate. The fact that now we live in a world where people are so freaking lonely, where they just come to a comedy show, whether they paid for it or not, and just start yelling at the stage. You need connection that bad and attention that bad. This is where we're at. It's crazy. Humanity has jumped the shark. It's whack. It's terrible. It's like I just get peeved when people feel the need to try to be funnier than a comic or come prepared to not laugh. Just all the stupid reasons I've heard of people not wanting to just freaking behave. It
Yeah.
costs nothing to behave. It costs nothing to be kind. It costs nothing to keep your mouth shut and just sit there and enjoy yourself.
But like you wouldn't shout out this is garbage if you were at a theater production. So like why do people do it at a comedy show? I don't understand.
Because I think people have gotten edgy and nasty and negative, and it sucks. And that's what, that's all the more reason I'm like, hey, look, I try to find a silver lining in life, get up on these stages and have people, forget about their careers for a few minutes at a time. That's all I'm concerned with. I don't
Yeah.
think me or anyone else, unless somebody's doing, I don't think anybody doing abjectly terrible even deserves to be yelled at on the stage. And I've produced shows and I've booked people when I've regretted booking people. Never once have I wanted to say garbage in the back of the room while somebody near the front of the stage is looking back at me like, help, get me out of here. Never once have I wanted to do that and diminish, that person that I put up there.
And when you're, like, producing a show too, it's even worse because like, you're the one at the end who has to be like, "Sorry, you're not invited back," and then they hate you, and, like, people get then, like, comedians get mean, and then, like, it's not a good vibe, so
Or semi-normal people think that we're all just happy-go-lucky clowns or something like that. Think everybody's always happy and likes each other and all that. No, it doesn't happen like that. I wish it does. But you're right when it comes to production. It's I'm booking you on the show because I believe in you. I'm booking you on the show because that bit you had was hot. It was super original. The crowd loved it. I want to see it go well on this show that I'm booking you for. When they do it well, when it goes off like you imagine it, it's the best feeling. And you could give them that encouragement, a high five at the end of that set, say, I'll see you back. See you back here in a few months. They loved it. It's different when it's, all right, yeah, I'll holler at you. All right.
yeah.
My mom didn't raise a bully. My mom raised somebody who enjoys encouraging other people more than getting up there and doing it myself. So,
Yeah.
that's the one part of what I do in my uh, existence in the stand up world that I hope other people would think about and take for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, there has to be like, I feel like we just spent a bunch of time talking about all the negatives, but like, it is also hard to explain. Like, there's no better feeling than when a joke lands and an entire room erupts. Like,
It's relief.
what have been some of the best experiences that you've had?
To your point, I gotta say, a lot of times, no matter whether I've done a room 5 or 10 times or never, sometimes I still get those butterflies when I'm about to touch that mic. Sometimes I still worry, oh my gosh, am I gonna forget everything that I was gonna do tonight? All those little panicky moments stop as soon as that first joke hits and lands. It's relief, but it's also joy that they're joy. It's happiness that they're laughing and having that good time. And it's wanting to keep that going and rolling. To me, that's joy. And it's not just like, hey, look at this funny thing I said. No, it's like, hey, y'all, we having a good time, right? All right, let's look at this thing here. Ain't that some stuff? Yeah, I love it. I love that. To me, that's the main reason why I do it. Like I said, just to have people forget about their troubles for a while and just laugh at some shit with me.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, yeah, it's like it is a form of connection. Yeah, when somebody else thinks the thing that you just spewed out of your mouth is funny. Like that
Absolutely.
is the vibe.
It's powerful. One of my best buddies. I was blessed to get a true comedy bestie. I've started a podcast called Your Comedy Bestie, but I have a real comedy bestie. And we perform all over the place together. We co-produce shows together. And just Saturday night, we were up in Loves Park, right next to Rockford, a good hour and a half away from where I am now. There's a family there, pizza parlor of all places. We're performing the Yuck Yucks at a pizza parlor, but they run a good program and they pay really well. There's a family there, a dad, a mom, 15-year-old son. You could just look at the kid and you could tell he was 13. He was adorable. He was just loving his time there with his folks. But the fact that him and dad are like laughing at our jokes, we loved it. We left and were driving home saying, man, little Gavin and his dad were adorable. What they were the best. Yeah, my buddy's got a 15-year-old son, and one of his jokes is about his son's first marijuana experience, first, dabbling. And he was just remarking about how the kid and his dad are looking back at each other, cracking jokes or whatever. Like, yeah, so I remember you tried, just that joy and that commonality, that relatability is so much fun.
Yeah. I think the relatability is definitely the biggest one, but I guess I never to your point earlier when you were talking about, like, the loneliness epidemic. Yeah, I think do you think that has really affected the way that comedy is successful? Or I guess because a lot of things have changed recently. There's, like, the loneliness epidemic, and then there's social media. Yeah, everyone thinks they're a comic. So, like, how did the combination of those 3 things in our generation kinda shape stand up now? Sorry, that's a big one.
It is a big one because now I'm thinking about the implications of social media on all that. Social media has been one of our great blessings and curses at the same time, profoundly. The thing that gives the illusion of bringing us together, only if we bring that intentionality with it as we participate in it. Otherwise, it's just a whole, hey, look at me. I'm out here doing things and you're not. It's about making sure that people feel seen and heard and respected. It's about allowing people to shine their light and show off their creativity and be fun in the right ways. But when you come home and at the end of the day, there's nobody. When you're going through it, there's nobody to call. Or you could call people and they won't connect as genuinely. We live in a world that's still searching for genuine connection no matter what. And it's important to provide that. And I think being on the stage with that mic and talking to people is one of the purest forms of it when it's done right and when it's done with the right intention. So I'm hoping that as a human body, that we can continue to find ways to overcome that loneliness epidemic by truly connecting with each other more powerfully. I hope that people can restore familial ties. I'm hoping that cousins actually stop just thinking about cousins and reach out to cousins. And I'm hoping that the gift of laughter is, the ability to look at a situation and say, hey, well, let's find the funny in this so that we can cope and get through it. I'm hoping that we can come out on the other side and in 5 or 10 years, not even have to talk about a loneliness epidemic.
Yeah. I mean, I hope the same thing. It's definitely a question that I've been thinking about a lot because, I mean, I don't know, like, I'm quite lucky that I have a lot of friends, but at the same time, there's just so many people who are like struggling to meet people or, people don't go out anymore. And that's kind of the problem. And I do think stand-up comedy is like one of those reliable things in a lot of cities where it's like, oh, I don't know what to go do by myself to go meet people. Go to a comedy show. Like that is a thing that you can go do. And then if you like it enough and you want to try it, you can participate if you have the chops for it. And yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing.
It's still one of those great things where it's a date night, it's a girls' night, it's a guys' night out, it's all of that. And sometimes you'll find a host like me that wants to say, "Hey, let's party. What y'all celebrating? What we up to?" Try to make a little joke, riff off of that, and bring up the next comic and say, "Let's keep the party going." That's the part of it I love. And I think we're in a space now where a lot of comedians are getting paid what they need to get paid. The past few years, we've seen, Laugh Factory and the GMs there just kind of like lead the way and say, hey, industry standard, you do 10 minutes, you're getting paid this. You do more time, you're getting paid this. Shout out to Curtis Shaw Flag at Laugh Factory Chicago, even getting on TV, talking about the issues and stuff. And standing 10 toes down for Chicago comedy. Appreciate that. Comedy is $1 billion business now. It's not a new industry, but it's so much has changed in how the industry moves and how it works. There's more social media comedians than ever, whether people want to feel some type of way about them or not. They're there. That's part of the landscape. Somebody built a following of 450K just from being funny and putting skits on the internet. It is what it is. If they can go to a city winery or a venue like that and command $50 a ticket, it is what it is. That's where we're at. So if you're going to enter the market, if you think you got the chops, if you're not just a big backy and trolling people in seats, you could be one of the people too. It's about applying yourself to the craft and getting out there. But like I said, if your heart posture is right, I'm sorry, I've been getting a little bit more spiritual lately. If your heart posture is right, hey, go all the way. Go all the way, you know?
But do you think, I guess, with like the influx of social media comedy, because yeah, on one hand it's great, like, and those people deserve it too. If you put through the, like, I'm just now starting the social media thing to like learn how to do it, and like I'm not even doing like funny stuff. So it's not comedy, but like the actual like work of putting it together, like it's a lot. And so it's like if you develop a following that's willing to pay $50 a ticket to go see you, I think that's great. But also, like, I don't know, is there a negative sentiment from comedians who started out on a stage compared to the social media comedians that come in? And kind of
Absolutely.
what's that like?
They're always gonna hate. They're always gonna hate because it's gonna be like, I done spent all these years crafting this set and somebody can get up on this stage, blah, 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 blah. No matter what, we're always gonna have brilliant comedians that have opened for bigger names than you and I can think of that have under 1,000 followers and always will. Because, social media doesn't have to be everybody's thing. Everybody isn't on social media. Thank God for the people who aren't. I've heard and seen enough really good comedians in Chicago get on their soapbox and go on their lives and talk what they talk about, the social media comedians. because often they're hosting the shows for them or featuring for them, or they still have to work in the same space. As long as those social medians respect the craft, make attempts at jokes, make attempts at respecting the art form, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're out there doing something that some of those, hey, I'm funny as hell, but I only got 100 people following me because I hate people and I'll never put all the time and effort into doing it. It is what it is. You just have to find a way to coexist in that space and help each other. Because, I mean, if you're funny as hell and struggling with followers or anything, or social media is not your bag, and you look up on a show with somebody with a following the size of Uruguay, you might luck out, right? It's just do your thing, do you, do it to the best of your ability, and take it from there.
You've always been like that though. Like even in Shanghai, like everyone was trash talking everybody else all the time. Um, yeah, I feel like in comedy specifically, like there's just a lot of people trying to tear you down, which is ironic because comedy at its root should just be about joy and laughter, but it's not. And you've always been like Switzerland neutral in the way you talk about kind of other people doing their thing. You're like live and let live.
It's not. I just follow the principle. My mom raised me to be both of my parents kind of raised me to be this way. I was always in accelerated classes or gifted classes and always had people talking mad crap about me, man. I was like, you know what? I'm in Maywood. Roasting is my second language. Try me. Next. But then I had to soften that approach and say, you know what? I think we can all eat. It just depends on what you bringing to the table and what I'm bringing to the table and how we can make that work.
Yeah.
So I still see that here. It's a lot of brilliant, crazy brilliant comedians in Chicago, always vying for stage time. And I get it. If you feel like just had a situation recently, I was with a buddy on a showcase that was upset. You know, if I got to keep vying for the same stage time as this comic, I get it. Sure, you may think that that comic doesn't meet you at the same level or that comic doesn't have the body of work, but you're there together. And while you're there together, you got to make the most of it. Are you going to choose to treat this person like a jerk because you don't believe in them? Or are you going to be cordial, keep your thoughts to yourself and me, and move along? Because at the end of the day, what else are you going to do? Proof is in the pudding. You're going up to a showcase to potentially win stage time on the weekends. Hey, did you show and prove? Were your LPMs up? Did you do your job? That's all that matters at the end of the day. Forget what the other people got going on, right? So it's important. We can't be everybody's keeper.
No, that's true. I do wanna touch back on because earlier when we started talking, you said that your Blackness had come into question, like, throughout this journey in Chicago, and that's wild to me because, like, in Shanghai, you guys were organizing, like, all Black showcases, like, you had Hey Now Comedy, which I forget the translation of that. Hey means
Black.
black. Yeah, so it was, like, a play on words, like, that was, always something that was, super integral to who you were as a comedian or who you are as a comedian. So can you tell me a little bit more about either what happened or how that plays out in Chicago?
Southside comedians are their own wild animal, and a lot of them are some of the rawest, no holds barred, pull no punches, will call your grandma a motherfucker type of folks. And when I'm making my little jokes, they think of that as corny. That's corny. That's nerdy. Get that out of here. That's weak. Just because I don't have baby mamas, baby daddy, I ain't got no little kid. I don't have this little. I can't relate. I left the hood when I was 14. All right. I was just watching, I was on Marina Franklin's Just Friends Like Us podcast. And it was about grief. It was an episode about grief because the other guest just recently started a grief podcast, had just written a book. Legendary singer, singing jazz standards her whole career, just put out her first album of original songs, and some of them deal with grief because she dealt with very big losses. I watched the new Jeff Buckley biopic before getting on that podcast. I'm a Black American woman that loves Jeff Buckley and will still go rock out the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest. That doesn't have any bearing on my Blackness. I'm an American. So what? I'm championing a white guy who sang Nina Simone and Mahalia Jackson. It is what it is. That man's America. He's part of our fabric. He was a loss for humanity. It's one of still my favorite singer of all time. But doesn't take away from who I am. Doesn't make my brown skin any lighter. Doesn't detract from my experience, right? A Black woman going to Shanghai does not make me any less Black. How many Africans live in Shanghai? How many Africans live in Guangzhou? And they know about China's African continent connection. I'm sorry, this is probably the wrong thing, rubbing China up against Africa like that. But I'm a human. I'm a human woman trying to have an experience. My blackness is, for the most part, arbitrary. This is the only place that cares that much. Like, damn it, no, just see me as a human.
You think the US is the only place that cares that much?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Yeah, the only place that cares this much. It's a sickness, and it's a sickness I wish we would stop. And it's another reason why I'm taking it. One of my best known jokes that got me to chocolate sundaes in LA at Laugh Factory Hollywood is a freaking joke about fried chicken and the N-word. It's because of being over in Shanghai and hearing way too many people trying to attack and do N-word jokes I'm like, look, I'm gonna do the end all N-word joke. I'm still padding it, and hopefully by the
For
time I get to Marina's show,
for anyone listening though and who doesn't know, in China the word for sounds very, very similar to the N word. So you can imagine a lot of people try to make jokes about it and fail miserably, and or aren't funny. But when it's funny, it's real funny.
when it's
Uh,
funny, it's real funny. Got a clip of Simeon before the pandemic hit. Me and Simeon, Lily Ma, Dan Roman were about to go off and do a Hey Now comedy tour. And Simeon came to Shanghai. We did this packed out show at the attic. And he's like, yeah, me and Erica was supposed to go to Chongqing. I didn't name it. They named it Chongqing. And he's like, yeah, so this one time they were like, nigga, 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 nigga. I was like, yo, Simeon, yo. But he could do that because he's, Mr. New York. He's part Chinese, little part Chinese, but he's, hey, yo, son, hey, hey. That's Simeon. Love that dude. But I feel like Donnell Rawlings has tried a couple of variations of it before he starts speaking Korean in this sense. But I wanted to, and I started working on it before I left China because they legitimately did open up that first Chinese Popeyes right down the street from me. And I did almost think I might not go home again. And me and Lily ate the Chinese Popeyes and it tasted like home. I was surprised. And that's why I said I wanted to try to be China's Popeyes lady. And so the rest of the joke goes in crazy ways, crazy directions. I am going back to chocolate sundaes in 4 years. So here's hoping that that wait list comes down. But I just feel it's important to go ahead and put that out there because let's break the stereotype about fried chicken. Fried chicken is universal and damn it is delicious. And I feel like until everybody says the N word, nobody can say the N word.
yeah. Except the Chinese when they're actually saying They're the only ones who get to say it.
Or this one, that one. So in my joke, I try to differentiate and give them this one, that one, jugga nugga,
Oh,
that
yeah.
way. But all the different iterations of it at first, it was, me and my cousin Darnell was working there to train him. I was like, here, nigga, damn, here, nigga, damn, here, nigga, damn. Like, but I've gone back versions. So, and I said it with the inflection where I don't think you have to edit or bleep any of that. I hope I did that right.
Yeah, I think so. That's okay.
But like I said, until everybody can say it, nobody can say it. Because
Yep,
I'm
yep.
tired. I'm tired. We have discussions about if Mexicans can say it, if people from other parts of the Latin world can say it.
Man, it's just crazy, like, I mean, I feel like I'm about to start saying something that now I'm gonna get in trouble for. I think it's important to respect, like, greater things that are happening historically, socially, and being mindful, but, like, regardless, like, you're gonna mess it up, especially, I'm a white woman, I'm never the victim, but, like, there are times where I'm gonna say something that's dumb or, like, I have a memory of being in university and we went to some, like, diversity, workshop. Like, this guy is, like, trying to explain to me the concept of, like, seeing color, and my stupid ass at, like, 19 was like, "No, I don't see color," and he was like, "How did you pick out the shirt you were wearing today?" And he's like and I just, like, I was so uncomfortable that I was just, like, digging my heels into this, like, cringe, and, like, now I look back on that and I'm like, "That man had the patience of a saint that he was dealing with me," but, like, you don't grow and evolve if you can't look back at, like, something you said or did and say, "Wow, like, that was bad." Like, I could be better here, here, and here. But I do feel grateful that, like, I've always had people in my life who have never been like, "You said this bad thing, therefore you're an awful person." I've always had people in my life be like, "You said this thing, maybe don't do that, and here's why. I know you don't mean it badly, but, like, you shouldn't do that." Like, and then, I have my own discernment of, like, is it 'cause there are things that I say that will just inevitably offend anyone, but I don't know. It's
That's
hard.
why I wish I wish diversity trainings actually meant spending time, good amounts of time with other people from other cultures and other backgrounds and having to report about it. I think we need it more than ever. And especially, like I said, where social media gives you the illusion of being connected. I think people really need to dig deep and genuinely get those connections. Say, hey, I know you look different than me, but hey, so we do this thing over here. Just curious how y'all do that, right? Be genuinely curious about other people around you, or not just so stuck in me. I gotta represent. I gotta eat black, black, blackity black. Well, what? Investigate why that person lives the way they live. Investigate the culture they came. They just got here. Investigate the country they left from. Try to relate to people. That's what's lost. So, in a world where, in a country where rugged individualism has been promoted so strongly, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're all isolated. So I guess my whole thing that I champion is connecting, enjoying each other, enjoying life. I One of my favorite things with traveling is having these brilliant, like humans of New York conversations with people. And sometimes I have the best conversations in New York with people. One time I was taking a red eye and it's like 3 in the morning. I'm at LaGuardia and I'm sitting next to a lady from Myanmar. We're just talking and and it wasn't even necessarily she's telling me about the old country or nothing. It's like, hey, what's going on with you? How you feeling? What's going on? What's life like? Where you going and where you headed? Right? It's those kind of conversations. I had a conversation with a brother at it was a hotel bar. We had just done a rooftop wrap up the first night of Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest a couple summers ago when they were still doing Juneteenth. And I sat there with that man. I stopped drinking a couple years ago. He bought me, a Red Bull or whatever. I watched him have 2 or 3 drinks. We just sat there and just conversating. Just telling me all about his family, his daughters. Beautiful man. He looked like a young Ron Cephas Jones from This Is Us. It was just, I'm here. My plane doesn't leave for hours. Let's talk.
Yeah. Nobody does that anymore.
What else is life about? What else?
Yeah. I don't know. I often say, like, this week you have to go talk to a stranger, and then I inevitably will, like, do an easy version where I, like, I don't know, start up a chat with, like, someone at, like, a fitness class or something. But, like, even then, initially, like, people, like, tense up. They're like, "Oh, no." Like, and then once you kinda, like, ease in, like, actually, this is topical to you because you lived in Shanghai. I saw a guy in my workout class wearing Fei shoes, and I was like, "Did you live in Shanghai?" And he looks at me, he's like, "No, why?" I was like, Fei shoes, like, I thought you could only buy them in Shanghai. I guess they sell them in Europe now. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, they're also French." And I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah." So, like, yeah, Fei shoes. But then, like, it simmered, and then he's like, "They're good for parkour." I was like, "Okay, here we go." He's getting with it now. Like people are so shocked when you speak to them. I
And
don't
they're
know.
surprised at what you have in common, right? Or the thing that you pick up and say, hey, this thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's literally like being a toddler. It's like being like, "Hey, I have this thing. Do you like this thing?" And they're like, "No, but it's related to this thing which you like." And you're like, "Okay, we do. We do have something in common."
That's the start.
Yeah.
That's the start. That's the magic of it. I mean, you said it's like a ton. It's true. Gosh, I was on Facebook scrolling before I decided, I don't like this place and I get off. I saw a reel of just these toddlers just running up to each other and, hi, friend. And it's like, yeah, why did we stop doing that as adults? I believe in not stopping that. I believe in having a curiosity about other people. I believe in talking to people without sinister motives. I'm not trying to seduce people or get them into my bed. Sometimes I just want to know how you're doing today.
Yeah. Just like a
I
general
think
curiosity.
maybe we've jumped the shark and nobody's got that purity of thought anymore. What?
You're the only pure soul left in the world.
It's rough out here.
Do you think humor in itself can actually change people's minds about, like, politics or culture? Because I feel like now we, like, write each other off if it's like, "Oh, you disagree with me politically, like, I'm throwing you to the wayside." How do you
so much,
think humor can bridge that?
so much stuff going on, especially considering this has been a biblically awful and strange and confusing year. I'll say it like this. During the first term on the Death Star, our late night shows were still kind of popping, even though some of the writers' rooms were kind of overlapping on some of the jokes and material. Yeah, it sucks that all of a sudden we have a comedian in chief. And don't get me wrong, that sucker's got some badass punchlines, but that's it. He's all angry ass, negative ass punchlines. He is I don't know, he's Dice Claying sometime. And it's probably some of the only accolades I'll ever give this man. But we've jumped the shark politically and that it's so farcical. Even with Zelensky, Zelensky's the actor and former comedian. Come on, man. Rob Schneider for vice president. What the fuck?
No, but I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I read headlines from because like I've been out of the US for over 2 years now. Like I'm in Germany and I read headlines from the US and I'm like, is this the Onion? Like I think it's fake.
It's craziness. It's idiocracy in real time. Who knew 20 years later that movie would come true?
Man, I can't deal with it.
It's twisted and so, like, just I feel like our politics globally is anytime I think about it, I think about the Genesis Land of Confusion video. The original 1985, 86 Phil Collins Genesis Land of Confusion video with the Clay Gorbachev and the Clay Reagan and how they're just so freakishly, cartoonishly themselves. That's what I look and see today's current leaders the same way just 25, 30, 40 years later. Just cartoonish freakazoids, bigger than life, saying whatever kind of crap that gets them home. That as constituents of some of these nuts, we have to try to find a way out with humor. That's the thing that's been rough for me. And that's the thing where it's like, that's where I have to peel myself away and say, that ain't funny. Everything else is funny. That dude, everything else is, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I want to take any of that seriously. I mean, I don't make Winnie the Pooh jokes because I still have passport pages open. I might need to get back over there.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever go back to China. I think I'm too scared of it now. I think
Yeah, good
I'm
point.
done.
Good point. It was 2021. I was scared for people.
Yeah.
A lot of people globally do not know that I think China spent, or at least for my folks in Shanghai, spent a good 6 months locked down for different things.
Yeah, well, I was talking to a friend of mine, she was living in Xi'an during the pandemic, and yeah, she was talking about how, like, one day, like, the drones would come by the window and just be like, "You have to come downstairs for your COVID test," and she's like, "Okay," and she goes outside and there's, like, guards and, like, it's all, like, everybody in these, like, hazmat suits, and she's like, "Okay, I guess this is what we're doing." So that was, wild, but yeah.
In 2020, I spent 6.5 to 7 weeks in quarantine from going in and out of China, the States, etc. I made enough jokes about coming home to clear my good name and prove that I'm not the OG black bat that started this. However, I remember Kobe died. I felt like, okay, the world's really about to go to shit. Plus, teachers from the school I was working at would text each other on WeChat or whatever and like meet up at this local bar, this local pub, and just be like, hey, what the fuck is going on? What's about to happen? I had gone home for a month, surprised my ex, had a good time. And then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, teachers, if you're out in China, get your ass back within the next 4 days or so. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I spent 40 hours plus going from Chicago to Shanghai. Stopovers in both airports in Taiwan. I was in Vancouver for at least 6 hours. It was crazy, but
Yeah.
that is just what it was. And then I came back and then I had the whole people in hazmat suit treatment, lining up at queues at the airport, you all getting bussed off and taken to this facility and tested. And everybody's sitting there waiting 6 to 12 hours to make sure nobody had COVID. And when I saw a couple was sitting ahead of me because it's crazy. We're in a freaking gymnasium, right? And there's cots, and it's like, here, have a box of water, a box of coconut milk, and some crackers. I'm like, okay. I'm sitting there waiting. Couple in front of me, they're like, oh, you two? You got to come with us. They had tested positive. I'm sitting here like, I've been sitting in front of them for most of this day. You mean to tell me it was nerve-wracking. Finally being cleared, finally being put on a bus to go back to my apartment. And then when I got to my apartment building, there's folks waiting outside with the nurse uniforms and the notepads and all that. And I'm like, a criminal going back into my apartment and about to be sentenced to 2 weeks quarantine and have somebody at my door every day talking about, oh, so yeah,
Yeah.
that was when I knew, yeah, I'm probably not going to renew this teaching contract.
Yeah. I think COVID definitely was the end of an era with China because I feel like there was like these glory years for a while where, you would go over there and you could kind of do, as long as you weren't doing anything against the government, there was kind of this feeling that like you could do whatever you wanted. in that way, it was fun, and there was great nightlife, and, like, there was every kind of food you could ever want because it was very international. Like, surface level, it was really fun, but then, yeah, like, the crackdowns and the control kind of clamped and I don't know, the growth of all the apps, like, being connected, like, I didn't like that, Tencent had knowledge of, like, where I'm driving to, my doctor's appointment, they had everything just at their fingertips, which, I mean, I don't think it's actually that different in the US, but, yeah,
We
it
got
was
ready
just
for it. It was our practice run
yeah, yeah,
of the way things are now. But and you're right, we definitely did catch the very tail end of living a good expat life in Shanghai. Going back to the whole being black thing, I felt blacker than I had ever been in freaking Shanghai.
really?
And yes, I hear folks here making jokes about, hey, the diaspora, the diaspora. We were in the diaspora, okay? Black Shanghai was like a mini Wakanda. It felt so good putting money in black hands of artisans, artists, hairstylists, tailors, makeup artists, people from everywhere you could be black and grow black and be there. Girls from the islands, all of the islands, every part of the continent. I mean, and to have what felt picture perfect and felt right, and to not have that here, it's like, man, I wish I could if I could just show y'all this joy, if y'all could feel, if y'all could have been there at Shanghai Black Expo when that Beyonce version of Before I Let Go came out and everybody was two-stepping, like unparalleled amounts of joy.
Yeah.
I just wish I could bottle up and sell it to folks, and they still wouldn't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even speak to obviously what it would feel like, but I just remember going to like some of those events and being like, this is fun, like great fabric, like different foods I had never tried, like people talking about, their culture, like you said, like from the islands, from like different countries in North, South, East, West Africa, and like, from the US, from the UK, like everyone, yeah, it was just a united front. It was really, yeah, it was cool. Like Fashion Week.
They
Yeah.
have one of those cool festivals like that. I feel like you might have already been gone. Yeah, because that was like May of 2020. I got pictures and everything from it because it's so cool. So many booths, and just like you said, all those different tastes from all those different places, and the music and people joining together, and Chinese citizens there saying, "Hey, how you doing?" and investigating and seeing and tasting the food and dancing with us, and the fact that we could all be there and nobody's worried about anybody shooting nobody, nobody's worried about a drive-by, nobody's worried about any kind of crime. You're just there enjoying. That's another thing. People here don't understand that. That's a level of peace that I wish people could get. And I'm saying this as somebody who, by the time I was 10 and had already lost my own oldest brother to senseless crime, I lost cousins on the west side to shootings. And then to all of a sudden be in a place where my safety is, well, huh? I'm just here. This is a good time. I ain't worried about none of that. Like I said, it's a peace and it's a joy for me that I know and I'm grateful for that I wish I could just bottle up and share with the world. But since I can't do that, all I can do is try my best with just being the person I am and doing what I do creatively and shining my light that way.
Well, it's obviously rolling into goodness because, yeah, good things are on the rise up ahead. So I'm just super excited for you, and I love that yeah, you started this in Shanghai, and like 8 years later, you're still out there doing your thing, and I love it.
I have to thank you for being there. I thank you for being the funny, fearless badass that you've always been. And I'm so proud of you, my friend. I thank you.
Warm fuzzies all around. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for this lovely hour. Yeah, it's been great to catch up. Yeah, I can't wait till like the day comes that like your face is like you're headlining some show that's huge, and I'm like, I know her. Saw her first
I'll be waiting for that too. I'll keep you posted.